Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're diving into a really unique bit of history, Nehemiah chapter 3.
Yes, it's quite something.
It looks like just a list on the surface, right? But it's so much more.
Exactly. It's this incredibly detailed snapshot of a huge community project.
Rebuilding the wall of Jerusalem.
That's the one. It names names, maps out sections. It's like an ancient project plan almost.
And our mission today is really to unpack that detail.
Yeah.
What does it tell us about, the people involved, the leadership, the sheer effort?
Right. It's easy to just sort of skim Nehemiah 3 and see names you don't recognize. But when you actually dig in, like we're about to, it really opens up a window
Exactly.
into the collective spirit, the practical side of things, rebuilding a city that was basically in ruins. It's less story, more blueprint of people working together.
Okay, so let's jump in. Where does this document, this chapter, actually start the tour?
It kicks off right at the Sheep Gate.
The Sheep Gate. And who's first on the list?
It's Eliashib the high priest
Right.
and his fellow priests.
The priests. Starting things off.
Yes, and what's really striking is they aren't just, overseeing. The text says they rebuilt and dedicated their sections straight away.
Dedicated it. So, immediately consecrated that part.
Seems so. They took on a pretty big chunk, too, including important landmarks like the Tower of the 100 and the Tower of Hananel. They dedicated those as well.
Huh. That says something right from the start, doesn't it?
Yeah.
About how they saw the work.
Definitely. Sacred work, physical work, all rolled into one. It wasn't just construction. It felt, religiously significant from line one.
Okay, so after the priests at the Sheep Gate, where does the list take us? Does it just jump around?
No, it's very systematic. It moves along the wall, section by section. And right away, we see people from outside Jerusalem pitching in.
Oh, interesting. Like who?
The men of Jericho are mentioned next. Then Zakur, son of Imri, building the bits right next door.
So it wasn't just a Jerusalem thing. People came from other towns.
Precisely. Rebuilding the capital's wall, its defenses, was clearly a shared interest for the whole community, those who'd returned from exile.
Makes sense. And you mentioned the detail.
Yeah.
It doesn't just say they built this bit, right?
No, not at all. Take the Fish Gate, for example, rebuilt by the sons of Hassanah.
Okay.
The text specifically says they laid its beams and put its doors and bolts and bars in place.
Wow. Okay. That's specific. Beams, doors, bolts, bars.
Right. It gives you a real sense of the actual work involved, not just stacking stones, but making it functional, securing the gates.
Yeah, that paints a much clearer picture than just they fixed the gate.
And that kind of detail pops up again and again. It highlights all the different tasks. Masonry, carpentry, metalwork, probably.
So moving along, the list keeps naming different people, different groups.
Yeah.
What kind of variety do we see?
Oh, this is where it gets really fascinating, I think. Beyond priests and just the general townsfolk or laborers,
Yeah.
you get specific professions named. Like Uziel, son of Harhai, he's called one of the goldsmiths.
The goldsmith. Working on a wall.
And right next to him, Hananiah, listed as one of the perfume makers.
Perfume makers. Okay, now that's definitely not who I'd picture hauling rock.
Exactly. What does that tell you?
Well, it must mean everyone was involved. Like, everyone.
Precisely. It shows just how wide the participation was. This wasn't just for builders. People from all trades, all walks of life, basically, were mobilized.
So goldsmiths, perfume makers, they just picked up tools and helped.
Seems like it. And they worked on a pretty significant section, too, up to the broad wall. It suggests the call went out and everyone who could help did whatever their day job was.
That really drives home the community effort idea. It wasn't just one segment of society.
Not at all. And we also see leaders taking a very direct role.
Right, not just telling others what to do.
No, leading by example. You have rulers of districts like Raphiah, son of Hur, Shalom, son of Halohes.
They were rulers of parts of Jerusalem itself.
Rulers of half districts, yeah. And the text says they repaired sections of the wall. Hands-on leadership.
And Shalom. His section has that detail that really stands out.
Ah, yes. That one always gets mentioned. It specifically says Shalom repaired his section with the help of his daughters.
His daughters. In a text like this, focusing on public works, mostly men, that just jumps off the page.
It really does. It's such a powerful, humanizing touch.
What do you make of it?
Well, it tells us this wasn't just a project for the men. It was families, households. Women were actively involved in the physical work.
So not just supporting roles, but actually building.
The text implies it directly here. It suggests maybe a wider female participation than we might assume just from the rest of the list. Daughters of a leader, right there on the wall.
It definitely complicates any simple picture of who did what back then. Maybe the urgency just overrode the usual divisions of labor.
Could be. The task was huge, the need was great, everyone pitched in.
And we see that idea of personal connection in other ways too, right? Like where people worked.
Yes, that comes up multiple times. Jediah, son of Haramoth, repaired opposite his house. Azariah, son of Messiah, repaired beside his house. Later on, priests are fixing the wall in front of his own house near the horse gate.
That makes so much sense. You're literally protecting your own home, your own neighborhood, by fixing the main wall right there.
Exactly. It gives everyone a very direct, personal stake in the project. It wasn't just some abstract civic duty.
So the big job of the whole wall gets broken down into pieces that are not just geographically logical, but personally meaningful.
Perfectly put. Gate to gate, tower to tower, but also my bit of the wall.
So as we sort of follow the list around the city circuit, we hit several major gates, each assigned to different people.
That's right. You get the Valley Gate,
Who tackled that?
Hanun and the residents of Zanoah, and they covered a long stretch, actually 500 yards it says, right up to the Dung Gate.
500 yards, wow. Then the Dung Gate itself.
That was Malkijah, son of Rechab. He was the ruler of the district of Beth Haccherem.
Another leader getting involved.
And then the Fountain Gate, repaired by Shalun, son of Kolhuzah, ruler of the district of Mizpah.
And for him, the text adds even more detail.
Yes, it says he rebuilt it, roofed it over, put in the doors, bolts, bars, the whole works. And it mentions specific landmarks nearby. The wall of the Pool of Siloam by the King's Garden down to the steps from the City of David.
Like it's giving coordinates on a map using these well-known places.
Exactly. It anchors the rebuilding effort to the city's existing important features. Tombs of David, the artificial pool, the House of the Heroes. These places are mentioned as reference points for other sections, too.
It makes the whole thing feel very grounded, very real.
It does. And you see other groups clearly identified the Levites working under Rehum, son of Bani, rulers from other places like the two halves of the district of Keilah.
It's just this comprehensive roll call of, well, seemingly everyone who's anyone or represented any group.
Pretty much. And, occasionally the text adds just a little extra description.
Like what?
Well, Ezer, son of Jeshua, from Mizpah, repaired a section near the armory ascent. Standard stuff. But then you get Baruch, son of Zabbai, and the text says he zealously repaired his section.
Zealously? That's different. It doesn't just say repaired.
Nope. It's one of the only places it describes the attitude or the manner of the work.
Why do you think that one guy gets singled out for being zealous?
Hard to say for sure. Maybe he worked exceptionally hard, maybe his section was particularly difficult, or maybe it's just to highlight an example of the kind of dedication needed. It makes him stand out, though, in this long list.
It really does. A little flash of personality. He worked on a key bit too, didn't he? Near the high priest's house.
Yes, leading up to the entrance of Eliashib's house.
And speaking of that area, didn't we hear one name before? Someone doing a second section?
Good catch. Yes, Meremoth, son of Uriah. He's listed earlier near the fish gate, and then here again, repairing another section from the entrance of Eliashib's house to the end of it.
So some people really pulled double duty or took on extra work.
Seems likely. The job was enormous. They probably needed people willing to take on more or fill gaps or maybe tackle tougher stretches. Some people clearly stepped up significantly.
Makes sense. And as we get towards the end of the list, finishing the circuit, more priests, more people working near their homes.
Yes, more priests from the surrounding region are mentioned. And then Benjamin and Hashub repairing opposite their house, Azariah, son of Messiah, beside his house.
Reinforcing that personal stake again. My home, my wall.
Exactly. Binnu, son of Henadad, repairs another section, connecting Azariah's house to the angle in the corner, more specific points. Palal, son of Uzai, works opposite the angle and a tower near the palace guard court.
The level of geographical precision is just amazing.
It really is. Then Pedaiah, son of Parosh, and the temple servants living on Ophel Hill, they worked up to the Watergate area.
And didn't the men of Tekoa show up again?
Ah, yes. Good point. Earlier, remember, it noted their nobles didn't pitch in under their supervisors.
Right, that refusal stood out.
But here, later in the list, it says the men of Tekoa did repair another section, a different part of the wall, from a large projecting tower to the wall of Ophel.
So the ordinary guys from Tekoa were involved, even if their leadership balked at one point.
That seems to be the implication. The general population from Tekoa did contribute significantly elsewhere, which makes the earlier note about the nobles even more pointed. It was clearly the exception, not the rule.
It highlights how widespread the buy-in generally was.
Yeah.
That one instance of refusal was noteworthy because it was unusual.
Exactly. It underscores the overall commitment.
Okay, so we're nearing the end of the loop. What are the final sections?
More priests repairing above the horse gate, each near his own house again. Zadok, son of Immer, Shemaiah, son of Shechaniah, the guard at the east gate, all fixing the wall opposite their places.
Still that personal connection.
Then Hananiah, son of Shelemiah, and Hanan the sixth son of Zalaph. Meshullam, son of Berechiah, making repairs opposite his own living quarters.
And then almost back to the start.
Almost. Malkijah, who is identified as one of the goldsmiths, maybe the same group as Uzziel earlier, maybe another he repaired up to the house of the temple servants and merchants near the inspection gate.
A golden myth again.
And then the very last piece, the final link in the chain. The section between that last point, the room above the corner, and the sheep gate where we began.
And who finishes it off?
The goldsmiths and the merchants.
Wow. So goldsmiths and merchants are mentioned near the beginning and right at the very end, closing the loop.
Nice bit of symmetry, isn't it? Brings together those skilled trades and the business community for the final push. It really feels like the whole community, all its different parts, were focused on this one massive goal.
So, okay. We've walked the wall, looked at the names, the gates, the details. Stepping back, what's the big picture? What does Nehemiah 3 really tell us?
Well, I mean, it's just a stunning testament to what people can do when they work together. Rebuilding an entire city wall, that's huge.
A massive undertaking.
But they did it how? By breaking it down. Manageable sections, clear responsibility assigned to all sorts of different groups, priests, rulers, townsfolk, specific trades, even families, daughters included.
And by tapping into that personal investment, fixing the wall near your own house.
Exactly. Distributed effort, clear ownership, personal motivation. It all came together.
And the fact that someone wrote all this down, kept this incredibly detailed record, what does that signify?
I think it says volumes about how much they valued every contribution. It's not just the Nehemiah rebuilt the wall story. It's honoring the dozens and dozens of people and groups who actually did the work, making sure their part wasn't forgotten.
Treating every section, every name, every bolt and bar almost as essential to the whole thing.
Precisely. So for you listening, as you think about this deep dive into Nehemiah 3, what really jumps out at you? Does this ancient story spark any thoughts about how big things get done today? Or maybe about how we value individual contributions and group efforts?
It definitely makes you think about seeing the people behind the project, doesn't it?
It really does. It challenges us to look beyond the big headlines and see the specific efforts, the individual hands that make large undertakings possible, whether it's building a wall thousands of years ago or tackling complex stuff in our own time.
Nehemiah chapter 3, then. More than just a list. It's a timeless picture of community, organization, and sheer human determination.
One stone, one gate, one section at a time. A blueprint of collective action.
And think about this. Hundreds, even thousands of years later, we still have this record. The names, the specific contributions of ordinary and extraordinary people working on this massive project. What does that very fact that this unique list survives suggest about the lasting value of every single contribution, however small it might seem, in the grand sweep of history? Something to definitely ponder.